Is my wife trying to manipulate me? Is she just saying things to keep me around? Is she using me? Is she trying to stay in limbo? Does she really not want intimacy and closeness, even though she promises those things? If I just do more dishes or if I fix all the problems that are wrong with me, she's saying that somehow things are going to get better. That's what Cynthia and I are going to talk about today on the C Note Show. Welcome to the C Note Show with myself, Jeff Allen, and Cynthia Cruz. We are retired special education teachers. We've been in private practice since 2016, working with families and men specifically, husbands specifically, on how to have phenomenal relationships together in marriage, how to lead, how to offer safety and inspiration and leadership, and how to teach her what you want in a level three kind of way, as we talk about. Not only are relationships a science, but they're heavily an art as well. And we believe that being loved and loving is an art through our Kingly Life Path framework of emotional safety, masculine frame, and leadership and intimacy. We talk about the Stoic triangle here within our teachings and level three of deep conscious intimacy. Last time we spoke about, well, my wife is closed down and defensive. So, how can I help her open up to me? We talked about 4 points in that call. So, go back and check that out. And today is my wife trying to manipulate me? We're going to speak about identifying emotional manipulation today, outsmarting emotional manipulation, and recognizing manipulative phrases. Talk about that today, and I'll get Cynthia's take on all these things. Well, Jocko Willink asks, what's the difference between manipulation and leadership? The difference between manipulation and leadership is intent. So, what's my intent? What's her intent? And now we're not going to try to read your wife's mind, but we're going to talk about behind the curtain today with Cynthia. Well, what is the dictionary definition of manipulate? So, from Oxford, manipulate, to handle or control like a tool with a tool or a mechanism, typically in a skillful manner. So he manipulated the dials of the set. Well, if I manipulate my child to do their homework, what's my intent there? Right. If I manipulate someone to do bad things, well, what's my intent there? Number two, manipulate, control or influence a person or situation cleverly, unfairly, or unscrupulously. Right. The masses were deceived and manipulated by a tiny group. That's what most of us mean when we say manipulation. Is it's a negative thing is the connotation, right? From Merriam-Webster, manipulation to control or play upon by artful, unfair, or insidious means, especially to one's own advantage. And that's what men that we speak with, our clients and our one-on-ones or in our groups or here in the comments, for instance, they want to know, well, am I being used really is where their question comes in. From our forum, here's a few different quick posts. This man says, hi, all, just wanted to share something I wrote down, being comfortable with myself. It's been a long time since I haven't felt the need to please or be pleased by other people, including my wife, kids, and pretty much anyone else, everyone else. Is that selfish? No, it's just me not being manipulated by socially imposed ideas of having to meet other people's expectations, real or self invented. A big thing within this work is who am I trying to please and why? What are my values? What are my boundaries? Another man says, hashtag KLP, by the way, is our group coaching members only call, our members only area. This man says, hills I'm willing to die on. Since my split from my wife, I've been working on my values and boundaries. I am a man who expects integrity, courage, awareness, respect, and kindness from the people I allow in my life. I'm a man who expects someone will not intimidate or manipulate me. I will respect my right to my own privacy, and someone that will openly communicate their needs and wants with me. I will live my life by these boundaries. So, definitely have many more things to get into. Cynthia, when men come to us, they want to save their marriage. Things have been potentially, sex has been non existent for a long time, or she's closed down, or she's actively angry all the time. And the men that come to us are confused. They're good men. They want to do the right thing. They realize that, yeah, part of all of this is my responsibility. It's not all your responsibility, even though she may be saying that. And they come to us and they want to build their integrity, courage, respect for themselves, and they don't want to be intimidated or manipulated. So let's start with the baseline of from our academic training, from what we believe that everyone's doing the best they can with what they know. Is there an exception of the psychopathic person? Okay, sure. But most people are doing the best they can with what they know. And let's say the wife is saying what she believes that she needs to say because she's in a fear mode, she's in an instinctual mode. And so, why would a woman just be okay with limbo? Or why would a woman inadvertently or purposefully, and we're going to talk about this today, string a man along, right? What's the fear in the back of her mind? And when you look at the men that come to us, what do you see that they want? Where do they want to go? Let's start there.
So I would say that if we just put on the table, can the feminine manipulate? Yeah. And it really pains me to say that because it is merely a way that she uses her feelings or her lack of feelings as a way to get something in return that's really core. So maybe it really is a this is core to my survival. And so limbo feels like survival instead of risking rupture and risking me being all by myself. There also can be the emotional survival that maybe in the past she's tried to speak more authentically or tried to express something that she needed and felt like it was cast down. Or even a lot of women hear any emotion from you is can be seen by masculine that doesn't do this work as manipulation. So she's learned some way to get her needs met, even if that's I have a need and I know now the steps to take to get that need met, whether it's emotional need, a physical survival need, or even this is how I'm dealing with how angry and resentful I am with you. And the way I can dance with this dynamic is giving me a relief from feeling so vulnerable, so angry, uh, so disempowered.
Yeah, thank you. What's a common situation with the men that we work with where his wife is either purposefully or accidentally or unconsciously manipulating to get something to serve her own self? What's a common situation you see with the guys that we work with?
So, what's the maybe deepest, darkest, most painful one? Her saying, "Oh, I will be intimate at some time," or promising, "Tonight we'll connect more," or uh, "Later this afternoon," or uh, "I just need more time." And a lot of that can be really authentic. It can be a in the moment. Oh, I know it's going to be. I'll feel something different in the future. It really can be her listening to herself of like, I don't feel like I can withstand my own vulnerability right now. And so I'm going to put up this wall. But if you never see her shift into what her words say she's going to do, especially with intimacy and sexuality, and seems really unbothered by that through regular life, to me, that's a really painful way to use her emotion and her physical body to try to micromanage the situation.
That's well said. So let me play the other side of the table, right? Well, she doesn't have to have sex with him, right? And maybe he's pressured her. And what if she just doesn't want to have sex in the relationship? Or what if she's completely backburnered or put on the shelf altogether intimacy because she doesn't have enough time and, oh, it's too difficult. And where's her responsibility in that dynamic?
Yeah, and I will say that women have that ability to put things on the back burner, especially if they're overwhelmed by life or their own selves. I think there's an instinctual way that women can back burner sex and intimacy just as a way of surviving. However, in relationship, in modern relationship, we're not in cavewoman days and caveman days, and there might be a really good reasons for her to back burner. However, to be in relationship together means sharing intimacy and sexuality in today's world, in the spiritual, deep, connected relationship. I hear sacred masculine wants with the feminine. And so not attuning to that, her not willing to take any growth, any steps forward over a long period of time because she's more comfortable that way is really her not being in a responsible adult, connected, committed, connected, intimate relationship.
Absolutely. And she may not know how to do that. One thing that we teach you as a man in this work here, either on these calls or watching these videos or doing one on ones or groups with us, is we teach you how to lead her there ultimately. That's the third phase of this work. And we talk about that. Let's step forward. Here's another post. Before the bomb, the divorce bomb, or maybe she threatened divorce, this man says, was dropped, I had a partner in life that I could trust. After we reestablished the relationship, I found out that I'm living with a professional manipulator. I'm learning to remove myself from all attempts to manipulate, but I no longer feel that I have a partner in life that I can trust. Part of this is, well, where's my line as a man? How do I know I'm being manipulated? Is this something that I'm making up in my mind? Is this real? This is why we bring these things to the men. This is why you post on the forum that we have. This is why you ask us on these calls and things. I went to Quora for a couple of posts to see what's kind of the layperson out there saying, and this person says, detecting manipulation is not always possible. In my opinion, detecting deceit is much easier than detecting manipulation. If you're in a relationship with someone who lies, gaslights, rages, guilt trips, and creates drama, then it's definitely a person that is deceitful and will manipulate you in ways that you may not even comprehend. Manipulation is done in such a subtle manner sometimes that at times it will take years to reach the goal, and whether that's purposeful or I think a lot of this is accidental on both sides, years of subtle manipulation. Therefore, unless you have a lot of life experience, you may not understand that you're being manipulated. Ask yourself these questions. Does the person lie? If yes, that's a huge red flag. Does he or she like to make you feel jealous or triangulate you? Does this person like to gossip a lot? Do you feel like you're never enough? Is this person negative? And one more from online. This person says, wow, what a question. I'll go into the bullet points this man is saying from his marriage. He's saying from a manipulative woman in his point of view. Checking account never balanced or knew where the money went, could never find any time to dedicate to hobbies or personal interests because some crisis needed immediate attention. People who used to be close friends slowly cooled off. Friends offered help with my problems. What problems? So his friends were seeing something that he wasn't seeing. Friends with children gabbed them up and ran for cover when I entered the room. Not sure what that is. Wife needed constant help that took me away from work. My wife immediately went into a very sour mood when conversation was about anyone in my family. Requests for help, constant accusations, feigning sickness, public belittlement, and my use of the word no caused an immediate tirade of verbal abuse. So, what is manipulation? What is deceit? Again, we want you to feel responsible within your own life and that you can control where your relationship is going. And a lot of this is getting your feet underneath you. So, Cynthia, let me take a step back here. The use of the word no caused immediate tirade of verbal abuse. What are you seeing there? What are you seeing there from her point of view, good, bad, or ugly, that may be causing her to shame or blame or project or gaslight, these words causing abuse, a tirade of abuse? What might you see behind the curtain there?
Yeah, so that I feel like that could be almost like 3 different things. One could be that's the little girl in her responding. Maybe she never really experienced no in her life. So a no is cause for outrage and how dare you? It also could be, women wear the goggles of not understanding masculinity well. And so they might interpret things that you do from a very masculine place as manipulating them. And then vice versa. So there's a lack of understanding that we speak in different ways, we speak in different languages. And she may be calling out things in the partnership by being really angry by the no of feeling imbalances, feeling differences in your energy that doesn't feel grounded. Or she could also, on the other side of that, really be taking advantage of how her emotional drama can move things more to how she wants, and actually act as retribution toward what you're saying, or feeling controlled or feeling disempowered.
So, men that are here live, we're going to look at the chat. And if you'd like to come in live and ask us a question or give us a situation that this reminds you of, we want you to come in. So, raise your hand or post in the chat. If you want to see more of our stuff, go to our website, greatmenmovemountains.com. If you want to be on our book waiting list, for our new teaching videos, for our upcoming book, invites to these live calls, notices when we post new videos on YouTube, for instance, as well. Greatmenmovemountains.com/new subscriber. Coming in. How does this remind you of your spot, please?
So the quote that you placed in there, actually, I wrote it, right? One of the quotes that you added there. So it's been 3 years for me that in therapy I've been like going through the exercises of what manipulation has been. And it's been like an experience of removing my glasses and seeing the real picture of this woman, right? And it's like example after example after example that the therapist gave me, that it created this new version of her where I can see the manipulation happening, right? And it's mainly about money. It's mainly about money. In my case, and it's she's very it's a very dramatic, it's very skillful. She's very skillful. She could cry and she would talk about pain, and she would bring reality and mix it with the manipulation, and it's a very skillful thing that she does.
Right.
But at the end, I've detected myself where I've fallen and not fallen into the trap. And it's like at the end, I can see where she wins or she gets mad because she lost the manipulation. But it's an art. It's very skillful. I mean, it's like when I started like really seeing it, it was impressive to see, right? Impressive to see an how do you say it? A movie person, right? So it was that type of scenario, right? And I'm not falling a trap as often. I don't know. 90% of the times I can detect it. Sometimes it's hard because she's very skilled, right, on this. So, but what I'm seeing is that it seems to be that I have a person in my life that is like a little bit more on the sick side of this, right? Versus a regular woman, right? It's like pathological to a certain degree. And before it was very hard for me to follow your guidelines, right? Because it was like, or is she telling me, I don't know, is she communicating her feelings? I would get confused. And then this therapist really helped me see and see and see and see that she wasn't communicating her feelings. She was actually manipulating, right? And I think it's happening both things at the same time, or they mixed, right? So it's an interesting dynamic. It's hard to follow all the learnings that you guys give out there when you're seeing something very pathological here, right? So it's been an interesting ride. So I'm still trying to understand if some things are real from a female perspective versus this very good manipulator.
Yeah, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Appreciate you being. So, what have you learned about yourself? You said a different view of her, or how do you see your relationship now? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting to learn who this person is. It's 20 years or 25 years of marriage and never seeing this person. It's impressive, right? Her capability of doing this, how she can get away with a lot of things. It's not only me, it's her mother, it's her sister, my kids. It's all over the place, right? And I think it's this histrionic personality disorder that she has, right? This is like a pathology, right? And I'm learning to see it, to detect it, and try to understand what's next, right? Because it's hard to live with somebody that can do this. But now, because I'm detecting she's not able to manipulate as much, she's noticing that it's not I'm not continuing with the play, and she's finding new ways of manipulating. It's like it's going up,
Right.
it's ramping up.
She's trying different things, right? Yeah.
She's trying different things, and now I don't know. Maybe she will lower the tone later. She will realize that I have a view of this, and we'll see what happens. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah, thanks. I want to ask you another question here in a second. I'll bounce this off of Cynthia. Yeah, what you were saying is it takes time for behavioral extinction, where the person tries harder and harder and harder to get back
Mhm.
to what was work. Right, you're nodding. Yeah. So let me ask Cynthia. I want to ask, what does he use for himself to differentiate when these things are combined? Maybe where it's her true emotions and what's really manipulation to try to get money. Let's say I want to ask him that in a moment. But before I do that, what are you seeing from him and his work here? And what is he recognizing maybe within himself that you see of Aaron right now?
Oh gosh, I was just so honored and grounded by not only your groundedness, but this incredible wisdom of your attuned eye to watching these behaviors kind of wash across your screen, seeing the connection to different parts of the family, even to kids. And that kind of wisdom and kingly eye is, to me, what's so powerful about, we talk about masculine energy, is your awareness of seeing, okay, what's here. There's questions of how do I differentiate the difference, but there's also a pulled back and an observation uh,
Mhm.
without, I mean, there's sometimes I get to experience in men and women, there's so much anger there that any chance they get, there's an accusation, you know, putting that other person down verbally, even just sharing their story. And I feel that your heart is centered as you observe. And I just really appreciate that.
Thank you, Cynthia. It helps.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work. It's not been easy for me. It's been tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like you're more, like Cynthia said, centered in yourself, not so much hoping that your wife's gonna change, but that, yeah. So tell us briefly, how do you differentiate between her true emotions and manipulation, or can you? What's been key for you?
I don't know. Sometimes what I see is I have to develop this ability to read between the lines, to read a little bit more. Sometimes there is a level of honesty that I don't see on the manipulation, that I think looks like more like she's the real her, the real female person here. And that's where I think it may be true. I don't trust it 100%, but it feels a little bit more realistic.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea of trust? You just said the word, I don't trust it 100%. This is a conversation I have with tons of men is, can I trust that she is who I thought she was? Or can I trust that the relationship can ever be what I imagined it to be? How do you look at that now, the word trust?
Trust has been a thing that it's been, I don't know, reduced substantially, right? I used to trust 100% unconditionally in fantasy land. I think I'm seeing the real person, so it's like 60%. I can trust her that she's not gonna, I don't know, do something with the kids, start something bad with the kids, or that she's gonna steal money, or I can trust a lot of things of us, right? But I cannot trust her manipulations, to her ability to try to obtain things that benefit her, because she's an expert at this. She's very good. She obtains things from her mother, from her sister, from my kids, from me, from it's her way of living.
That makes sense.
Everybody
Yeah.
everybody resolves her things for her so she can have a nice life.
I see. That makes sense. Is there a goal you're trying to go toward with your wife? Is there open conversation about this? I'm curious where your work with her is.
No, no, it's war. It's gonna become war. Um, I think she's realizing that I'm not falling to a trap, and she's finding new ways. And I think eventually we'll reduce a little bit. I don't think she's going to do any work. She left therapy on her own. She left couples therapy. She's not trying to do any work. I don't think. Maybe when I'm, I don't know, 95% done, maybe we can have that conversation. But I don't know. I need to play it. I need
Right.
to see what happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, yeah, keep coming on as you have been and let us know how this progresses over time. Yeah, thank you. Super appreciate it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's take a look at the chat. We have more slides to get into as well, as far as manipulation, understanding manipulation, how to outsmart manipulation. We're going to get into that before the end of this call. Let's see. I have experienced that some occasions when I used no or disagreed with my wife, so said no or disagreed with my wife, she made me feel guilty. And if I have low self esteem, with my low self esteem and absence of confidence, caused me to cave. I know the difference, but when I try to assert myself, she goes sometimes into her tirades. Are you able to come on and talk with us? How do you mean the tirades or
Well, she
showing the difference?
sometimes, right, sometimes she gets aggressive, and that I was wrong, or my belief in saying no was an incorrect decision. So it causes me to question and second guess myself. It also plays into my esteem, that if I'm not self-confident enough and bold enough to stand by what I said, I tended to cave. So I recognize that more and more. I mean, I'm not saying it's certainly for me, it's a work in progress, but I tend to recognize now, where I'm tended to be manipulated. I do have that concern, whether she's really expressing her true sentiments or trying to win an argument or win her way. Um, so that's a challenge for me. But what I recognize is that when she doesn't get her way, she gets aggressive. What I know, because I'm now slowly building up my confidence, it's not as strong as it was before. The impact of her tirades is not as strong as it was before, as I was sharing with you when we had our one-on-one discussion. So, but it still does bother me at times. But I think, and this kind of work we're doing is helping me to recognize more and more what I should be on the lookout for, and when she's really being sincere or not.
Absolutely. Do you have an indication of when she's being sincere or not? I want to ask Cynthia about that in a moment.
I think, sorry,
Go
you
ahead.
know, I tend, this is my belief. I'm not saying I'm right, but my belief is that her sincerity is that when she leans away from us. I mean, I'm not saying that that's in every instance that's the answer, but when I recognize she gets more angry and sometimes becomes abusive verbally and being insulting and so on, I mean, I tend to find that as an attempt to force me into her side or bring me into her side by force. Um, and but where she can sit and explain to me rationally why is it that she thinks this is a better approach as against what I'm saying. I mean, I find that to be much more sincere, and I'm more open to listening to that. But to abuse me into your side does create a sense of resentment, does of course cause me to question whether or not you're really desirous of what you want.
That makes sense. Absolutely. Thanks. So, with what I just mentioned there, how can a man even begin to know what's her true emotion versus manipulation? And is there even a way to unravel these things? I mean, I'm assuming that they're woven together.
Yeah, I mean, already the wisdom that I can feel in many of you on this call is that you're aware that it does weave together. And it does it weave together because there's true, maybe fear behind it, because there's true emotion behind it. Absolutely true feelings of disempowerment. Yes, that she's created in her own self. I was like really amazed by your description of like she's trying to abuse me into her point of view, and that feels really, really different than when she's not trying to throw the kitchen sink on you, uh, like to distract, that it's all about you, distract away from what she's trying to get. And then if I go back to, if manipulation has been the way that she's felt safe and felt power, if not power over, she will keep trying to use that same pathway until there's literally nothing left in her to find that it works. And then you're seeing true emotion that is not just, tears. It's not just anger, but you can see in even the way she's holding her face or the way the emotion is hitting her, like she's in her heart, maybe she's hunching over, uh maybe she feels like she can't even stand to be in her own skin. That's a truer expression of what's been going on, because it isn't dissipated by trying to make you at fault or play games with it.
So I'll say the disclaimer was saying that there's some pretty amazing actors or actresses out there that are, I'll just lean into it, willing to play a longer game with manipulation. And of course, that can be true. And then another question that I ask men one on one is, well, what do you want to do to lead into the type of relationship that you want? What's the time frame that you're looking at of your assumptions? What's the story? So if a man, let's say we're not talking about a psychopath, let's say we're not talking about a con artist woman who's purposefully doing all this. Let's talk about our average couple that we speak with all the time. The man's wanting good things, she's wanting good things. There's pain, things have happened in the past. They've both made mistakes, and maybe she's closed down, as we talked about last time. But what are some of the reasons or keys of when she stops using fear or anger or blame? In other words, let me say this another way. How can a man see that she's really trying to build what we call a level 3 relationship? What are tries that he can praise and feel good about, even if she's not behaving very well? What does it look like when a woman's trying to build a level 3 relationship through past pain?
Well, there's first her acts that she takes. So let's say there was a big blowout and she has lots of anger, but you notice in the next moment or the next day her looking at you, her curious about, where the state of your relationship is. That's really important because a woman will always be trying to feel and monitor where you're at, especially if she feels like she's kind of overblown it, or she's a little bit afraid that her emotion was too real. She'll be checking in to see where is my place here. And another part of that is her expressing to you physically, or I would say even more verbally, her sharing with you, this is so hard for me. I felt so angry. There's an ownership of what she's feeling verbally. Or even there's a pairing of, she might say something really nasty, but then there's also a verbal pairing of trying to make amends, something she's grateful for you, thanking you, saying, hey, and I've noticed that this has really changed, or I recognize there's part of me that needs to change.
That's great. That's really well said. And guys, if you have questions about that, definitely let us know. Reach out to us. I relate to what Cynthia said. He says, she doesn't know how to be around masculine energy and perceive just about everything I did as manipulation. And so that's a great point. We've talked about that in other calls. Thanks for being here. And let's do one more. And this man says, in all this work, the one word I struggle with the most is lead. My wife has made it clear she doesn't want to be led by me and considers the whole idea sexist.
Hmm.
She's one, like Cynthia described, of not knowing how to be around masculine energy. Let's just jump into that. What's that about, do you think? From what you've seen professionally and in your women's groups and through all these years that we've worked with couples.
Yeah, it's excruciating on both levels. I mean, to be the man who's listening actually to your wife's deepest desire, which this is her deepest desire, and being shut down of it. And then the excruciating part is she's so afraid of being controlled, or her only experience of being led in the past meant that she lost power, even if that's just what she observed or observes currently in the world, and is petrified, absolutely petrified of the own part of herself that longs for that, petrified that it will make her weak, petrified that she'll lose herself. Because to say that being led is sexist as if it's wrong is really the inverse of her terrified of her own wateriness, terrified of losing her own self.
And maybe she's been, like you said, led poorly in the past. And that's a part of what we teach. How do you know? What do we do from here? Absolutely. All right, let's take a step forward. We have a few more minutes today. If you want to ask us questions, certainly email me, jeff@greatmenmovemountains.com, or post in the comments below this video or in the forum, our Facebook forum. We have a free Facebook forum. Check out our website for those things. Okay, so let's quickly check in with a board certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner on manipulation. How to identify emotional manipulation: consistently undermining your self-esteem, adopting a victim mentality to evoke sympathy, exploiting gaslighting, control through isolation from loved ones, using threats, excessive criticism and humiliation. More subtly, love bombing, silent treatment, mood swings, projecting their own flaws onto you to deflect blame, unrealistic expectations, dependency, fostering dependency, exploiting secrets, amplifying your insecurities. 4 stages of manipulation: scouting, manipulating, exploiting, and maintaining control. And here's some manipulative phrases: flattery, excessive flattery, for instance, guilt-inducing language, gaslighting, which is always a powerful inflammatory word, no pun intended, undermining your confidence and your perceptions with statements like "you're too sensitive," playing the victim, emotional blackmail, defensiveness and avoidance, projection, shifting responsibility, silent treatment, and effective communication with manipulative individuals, right? So this is what we teach and talk about, and we want you to ask questions on these things. Setting clear boundaries, keeping your cool. How do I do that? What does active listening mean? Seeking clarity rather than confrontation. Well, what do I do when things are underwater and it feels like she's in limbo and either not talking with me or angry at me all the time, right? Playing games. I'll go fast here. We have to be consistent as a man, no matter what we're facing in the world. That's a really difficult thing when the relationship is up in the air. Getting support here and through other men and through our coaching, getting educated. Self-care is top priority. Where do these things come from? We'll talk about this another time. We use this graphic and the results pyramid in our one-on-one coaching. So Cynthia, we have about 1 more minute today. What would you leave us with in the men that right now are thinking, oh my, like how could I even want to build a relationship if I'm so worried about manipulation? And what is this level 3 relationship that you're talking about? What's something that can help this man feel hope in his heart for at least himself? We don't know what's going to happen with your wife, but at least for this work, the men that you see here, what would you leave us with?
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of, let's say you do identify manipulation in subtle ways, her promising one thing, backing out on that. You know that there's a lot of stuff behind that. I almost want to put, in most situations, seeing the feminine trying to manipulate the situation is like one more color that she's painting on the canvas in front of you. She has her emotions over here. She has her different actions over here. There's how she's trying to keep herself together or gain control or feel like she's not going to lose everything. And that's another color here. It's something I really respect about the masculine, because I don't know if the feminine can do this the same way, is that you can observe the colors that she's painting, again, with the kind of groundedness, that the heart open, as if this was just information, as part of the puzzle, as a part of this stormy weathered feminine in front of you, as part of her messaging, asking for help or asking for freedom or even asking in her own self to be different inside of her being.
Absolutely. We can all manipulate. Part of No More Mr. Nice Guy, Robert Glover, is the nice guy manipulates. And we've all tried to do these kind of things in the past to hopefully better our relationship, get more sex. And so we believe that we're all doing the best we can with what we know. And you're here to grow benevolence in your heart, skills as a man in relationship, so you can lead yourself and the relationship, your marriage, to a better place. Thank you, Cynthia. See you guys next time. Ciao.